When I signed up for my second deployment, I left behind more than my family and friends. I left behind the only place that ever felt like home. My ranch sat on 40 acres of quiet land, surrounded by open sky and silence. It was my dream, my peace. But while I was halfway across the world serving my country, someone back home decided that peace was theirs to take. The HOA called it a technical error. I called it betrayal. And when I came back, I didn't just find my land gone. I found 14 brand new homes standing where my past used to be. Before I left, life was simple. My name's Daniel, former Army engineer and proud owner of Red Rock Ranch, a stretch of land my father passed down to me just before he died. It wasn't fancy, but it was honest. I'd spent years rebuilding the barn, clearing brush, and repairing the fences by hand. Every board, every nail felt like part of my story. The land sat on the edge of a growing town, where new developments were slowly pushing out what was left of the countryside. Most of the new neighborhoods were governed by something I didn't pay much attention to: a homeowners association. They came with rules about how long your grass could grow, what color your mailbox could be, and even how many pets you could have. It all sounded ridiculous to me. Out here, I didn't have an HOA. I had space, freedom, and quiet. When I deployed, I left my ranch in the care of a friend, Tyler, who promised to keep an eye on things and send updates. I made my payments, kept up my taxes, and assumed everything back home would stay exactly as I left it. But the town didn't stay small for long. Developers started buying up the land around mine. What used to be open prairie turned into cul-de-sacs and streetlights. One of those developments bordered my property line, a subdivision managed by the Silver Creek HOA. I'd heard whispers from other landowners about their tactics, letters claiming easement rights, zoning mistakes, and offers that felt more like pressure than negotiation. Still, I thought I was safe. My boundaries were clear, my deeds recorded. My father had handled everything properly decades ago. I had no reason to worry, until the letters started coming. At first, they were just inquiries. We'd like to discuss shared access to the road, or we're updating property lines for municipal approval. Tyler forwarded them to me overseas, and I told him to ignore them. I figured it was standard bureaucracy, but 6 months into my deployment, something changed. Tyler called me one evening, voice shaking. "Man, I think they're trying to do something with your land," he said. "Surveyors have been out here 3 times this week. They're measuring your fence line." I contacted the county assessor's office. They told me everything looked normal. "Don't worry," the clerk said. "You're still listed as the owner." So I didn't. I finished my deployment with the same focus I'd always had: serve, survive, and get back home. I didn't know that by the time I touched U.S. soil again, the ground beneath my name would already be gone. When I finally drove back to Red Rock Ranch, the road felt unfamiliar. Where there had once been open fields, there were now houses. Cookie-cutter homes with the same beige siding, white fences, and artificial turf lawns. I thought I'd taken the wrong turn. Then I saw the sign: Silver Creek Meadows, a private HOA community. My stomach sank. I pulled onto the gravel drive that used to lead to my front gate. Only there was no gate anymore. No barn, no windmill, just a cul-de-sac of smiling new homes and a playground. My ranch had vanished. I parked, numb, and walked until a security guard approached. He looked nervous when I told him my name. "Sir, you can't be here." "This is private property," he said. "Private property?" I snapped. "This is my property." He handed me a printed packet, legal documents stamped with the HOA's logo. The top line hit me like a punch. "Property title transferred to Silver Creek Development Holdings, LLC." I didn't understand. My name wasn't anywhere on the paperwork. The sale had supposedly been completed 8 months earlier, while I was still overseas. The signatures weren't mine, but they were close. I spent the next week unraveling the nightmare. County records showed a disputed ownership transfer based on a claim that I'd failed to respond to zoning notices. According to the HOA, the land had been abandoned due to unmaintained property standards and unpaid community fees. I didn't owe them anything. I wasn't even part of their HOA. But the paperwork was deep, forged signatures, false notices, even backdated tax receipts. The HOA and developers had essentially fabricated a trail of non-compliance to push the property into a redevelopment trust. I contacted lawyers. Most didn't want to touch it. Too messy, one said. They've got political ties. Another suggested I let it go since the homes were already built, but letting go wasn't an option. I started reaching out to every veteran legal assistance group I could find. Finally, one nonprofit connected me with a military rights attorney, a man named Eric Holt. He specialized in property and deployment protections under the Service Members Civil Relief Act, SCRA. When he looked at my documents, he went silent for a long time. "Daniel," he said finally, "this is a serious violation. They sold your property while you were on active duty. That's illegal under federal law." He filed an injunction the next morning. The HOA and developer were served within days. That's when the real fight began. They threw everything at me. Counterclaims, media spin, even accusations that I'd abandoned the property voluntarily. HOA board members gave interviews about a misunderstanding with a former landowner. They said the homes were already occupied by innocent families, but the law was clear: any property sale or foreclosure against active duty service members without court approval is null and void. Still, getting justice wasn't simple. The developers had money, lawyers, and connections. I had truth, ass, and time. Eric dug deeper. He uncovered emails between the HOA president and the construction company, dated just 2 weeks after my deployment began, discussing opportunity parcels. My land was listed as one of them. They'd planned it from the start. We went to court. The HOA's defense was shaky at best. They claimed clerical errors, miscommunication, and good faith development. But every lie they told unraveled under evidence. Halfway through the trial, one document surfaced that changed everything. A notarized statement from a county official admitting he'd been pressured to expedite title clearance in exchange for a consulting fee. The judge's expression said it all. The final day of the trial felt like walking into a storm I'd been chasing for 2 years. The courtroom was packed. Reporters, HOA members, homeowners from the subdivision. Some avoided my eyes. Others whispered as I sat down. The HOA president, Linda Graves, looked calm. Too calm. She wore that same frozen smile she probably used in every meeting. I wondered how many people she'd pushed around with that same smirk. When my attorney spoke, the room went silent. He laid out every violation, every forged document, every illegal approval, every ignored notice while I was serving my country overseas. Then he played the recording. It was a voicemail Linda had left for the developer. "The veteran won't be back for another year. We'll have it cleared before he even steps foot stateside." Her voice echoed through the courtroom. I watched her face drain of color. By the end of the day, the judge's decision was clear. The property transfer was fraudulent, and all development on my land was unlawful. Under the SCRA, I was entitled to full restitution, and the court ordered the developer and HOA to compensate me for every structure built, every acre disturbed, every sleepless night caused by their greed. But it didn't stop there. The judge referred the case to the state attorney general's office for criminal investigation. Several board members resigned within a week. The county official who took the bribe was arrested. For the first time since coming home, I felt like justice had finally drawn breath. When I walked out of that courthouse, the sky felt different, but my land, my ranch, was still covered in homes. Families lived there now. Children played where my barn once stood. I couldn't take that away. So I didn't. Instead, I sold the restitution rights back to the developer under one condition: a permanent memorial plaque on the site of my old well, engraved with these words: "Dedicated to those who serve while others sleep. May no one's home be stolen in their absence." In the months that followed, the case made headlines. People across the country were shocked at how easily land could be stolen through bureaucracy, and how often it happened to deployed service members. Emails flooded in from veterans with similar stories: properties sold, businesses shut down, families evicted while they were overseas. My case became a catalyst for something bigger: reform. Congress introduced new amendments to strengthen the Service Members Civil Relief Act, making it harder for HOAs and local agencies to manipulate property rights. As for me, I moved to a quieter place, smaller, simpler. I bought a cabin near the mountains, far from city councils and community boards. It wasn't Red Rock Ranch, but it was mine. Sometimes I drive past the old site. The homes still stand, their fences perfectly aligned, their mailboxes painted identical shades of gray. But near the center of the development, beside the playground, there's a bronze plaque shining in the sun. I've seen people stop to read it. Most keep walking, but a few pause longer, maybe wondering about the story behind those words. And every time I see that, I smile. Because even if they took my land, they couldn't take the truth of what happened there, or the message it left behind. The HOA thought they could erase one man's home while he served his country. Instead, they ended up rewriting federal law. So if there's one thing I've learned, it's this: never underestimate the quiet strength of someone who's already fought bigger battles than paperwork and greed. Because sometimes justice doesn't arrive with sirens or headlines. Sometimes it comes from one man refusing to be silent, even after everything he built was taken from him.